They say it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a whole lot more to bring a talking hedgehog to life. Here's what the Sonic movies look like without all those special effects. It can prove difficult to have a live-action actor like James Marsden play opposite a CGI character like Sonic. Luckily, film crews know a few tricks to help the performers along.
Meow?
Often, a ball on a stick will stand in for Sonic on set, allowing actors to direct their eye lines to the intended target. But the crew on Sonic the Hedgehog also hired a real human to take Sonic's place, local improv actor Scott Patey. As Marston told The Hollywood Reporter, "It's so important because you can't just have the script supervisor reading to you in a droning voice. You need someone to have the charisma, charm, and serenity of a 12-year-old kid." Marston also pointed out that it's much easier to act when you're not sharing the set with a tennis ball. It may surprise fans of the Sonic movies to learn that Ben Schwartz wasn't the first choice to voice the franchise's titular character. After inviting Schwartz to do a test reading for director Jeff Fowler to sell the product to potential studios, however, producers realized he was the perfect fit for the role. While Schwartz was never physically on set to play Sonic, his vocal performance isn't the only thing that he contributes to the character. Before any dialogue was recorded for the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, Schwartz gave a motion capture performance so that animators could accurately capture his expressions while voicing the character. In an interview with Raiders of the Lost podcast, Schwartz revealed more about the motion capture process, explaining that they only actually used mocap for the first two films.
We learned how to just put a bunch of GoPros around me and get all aspects of my face without putting the dots on.
A film like Sonic the Hedgehog involves a lot of chroma keying, a process in which a green or blue screen is used to digitally composite an actor into another location. Many of the largest props aren't quite as computer-generated as they look, however, such as Dr. Robotnik's flying ship, the Egg Pod. In fact, the crew built a life-size model of the exact ship, which is operated on a motion base not dissimilar to a mechanical ball. As set designer Andrew Lee McConnell wrote on his website, "I was responsible for 3D modeling the Egg Pod, further developing the design, making portions of the vehicle buildable as a set for shooting, and I designed the mechanics for the articulated side engines and folding wings." Lifelike models of Sonic and his friends were used as stand-ins for certain scenes in the first two Sonic movies.
We'll do a take with that model, and then it's pretty much like an orange ball that they put right there where his eyes would be.
These models help CGI animators get an impression of what the characters would look like in the lighting conditions of a given scene. They even feature movable arms and legs, akin to action figures. For Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the figures were replaced with crude puppets of the characters, allowing the actors to improvise around them. As Jeff Fowler explained to Animation Magazine, "We can then do blocking with the puppeteer. You don't want your CG characters to be standing there dead in the water in one spot the whole time. You want them to move around and use the space." For the opening sequence of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which finds Jim Carrey's Robotnik standing on a fungi-infested planet, production designers worked with a blue screen on a soundstage. As a supplement, giant prop mushrooms were built for Carrey to act alongside, with everything in the background digitally extended. The animation studio Deneg was heavily involved in creating the look of the mushroom planet. VFX supervisor Kanal Ghosh Dastidar told Animation World Network that a lot of thought went into designing the planet, saying, "As human beings, we see little mushrooms, so it was difficult to give them depth. If a mushroom was really 30 foot tall, the problem is the texture detail and having something that you can relate to, such as moss or soil. You add scratches or colorization until it feels right." Many of the mushrooms and other plants visible in the background were created using Clarice, a VFX software that can procedurally generate trillions of CGI objects for vast landscape design. While Deneg handled over 180 shots in the sequel, the bulk of the VFX was helmed by Moving Picture Company, who had also worked on the first Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 sometimes feels like the Sonic video games come to life, and much of that is thanks to the movie's many larger-than-life set pieces.
Papa's got a brand new stash.
One of these sequences takes place in the Master Emerald Shrine, a vast temple where Sonic and Tails chase down Dr. Robotnik and Knuckles. Despite the extensive VFX on display in the scene, on-set photos reveal that parts of the sequence involved fully built sets on a soundstage. While the actors may have had practical sets to work with, the MPC team had to do a lot of the creative work in fully fleshing out these environments. VFX supervisor Matt Jacobs told Digital Media World it was essential to ground the internal elements in reality, including lighting and material design, and adding the right details, ranging from vegetation to thousand-year-old ice formations. Fans of the video games may notice a similarity between the shrine in the film and the labyrinth zone from the original Sonic the Hedgehog game on Sega Genesis. Indeed, the finished product definitely feels ripped straight from the games, and it's all thanks to the close collaboration between on-set production designers and the VFX team. In Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Robotnik uses the Master Emerald to assemble a massive mech known as the Death Egg Robot, which had fittingly debuted in the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 video game from 1992.
You're magnificent!
Thank you, sycophant.
Obviously, the exterior of the machine involved the most VFX work, but a number of effects were also required for the shots inside the mech. As seen in behind-the-scenes footage, Jim Carrey's costume was attached to wires, allowing him to safely act while suspended in midair. Rather than place Carrey in front of a green or blue screen, the production set had lights projected onto screens that showed the computer-generated interior of the Death Egg Robot, with multiple camera angles to catch wide angles and close-ups of Carrey's Quantum Evil performance. During this section of the movie, Robotnik also shows off some notable vocal effects.
Would you like to see how big a man I can be?
This was the brainchild of Carrey himself, who told Screen Rant, "I really had fun thinking about how that could manifest, with his voice speaking like a synthesizer just because he thinks it's fun." In Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Jim Carrey not only reprised his role as Dr. Robotnik, but also did double duty by playing his grandfather, Gerald.
Double your villains, double your fun.
The double casting was achieved through the old-fashioned Hollywood technique of split screening. But Carrey wasn't alone for these scenes. Jeff Fowler hired a stand-in, British actor Brendan Murphy, to help out. Fowler later told The Hollywood Reporter, "Brendan worked really hard to prep, and he would work with Jim on off days to rehearse each scene." Carrey also spent a great deal of time in the makeup chair for the third Sonic movie, a process he's all too familiar with thanks to movies such as How the Grinch Stole Christmas and The Mask. There was one aspect of Carrey's look that didn't involve any prosthetics or special effects though, his hair. Carrey showed up on set having grown out his hair to play a heavier, depressed Robotnik, and Lee Marsdube shaved it all off on camera. Even this took some prep though. A behind-the-scenes featurette shows how the actors choreographed this scene in order to capture specific angles of Agent Stone shaving Robotnik's head. Knuckles might be a spin-off series that streamed on Paramount+, but it didn't take the easy way out when it came to VFX. According to showrunner Toby Asher, who co-created the series with John Whittington, the quality of animation for Knuckles is on par with the feature films. He tells Games Radar Plus it's actually bigger than Sonic 1 from a VFX standpoint. We have 300 more VFX shots in Knuckles than Sonic 1. It's a TV show, but feels and plays out like a big extra movie. Looking at VFX breakdowns of scenes from Knuckles, you can see just how much VFX goes into even simple shots. In one scene, Adam Pally's Wade Whipple exit onto the streets of Reno to find Knuckles battling the series villain, but all that was done on a set.
Your power is mine, echidna.
Several layers of backgrounds are then used to add a computer-generated building behind him, the Nevada skyline, and even visual effects like smoke and lights. Aside from a few exterior shots that were filmed on location, most of Reno was made with VFX for the series. To create these digitized environments, the production team members visited the city's downtown so they could later recreate it on a soundstage. For Knuckles, Adam Pally worked much more closely with VFX teams than he had on the Sonic movies. As he told Screen Rant, "There was a real-life Knuckles there for me to do scenes with that could emote and improvise and could change stuff." The show utilized both the lifelike models from previous Sonic films, as well as puppets. Some scenes would have been more difficult to shoot if Pally had to rely on life-size puppets, however. A VFX breakdown from Australian animation studio Fin Design shows how certain sequences were put together without having any kind of real Knuckles on set. For one action scene, a stunt double jumps off a ledge while holding a blue egg-shaped dummy, and a camera cut allows Pally to swap in for the shot when they hit the ground. Another fight sequence features a moment in which Knuckles opens a fridge to slam it in the face of an armed assailant. On set, there was simply a crew member wearing a blue spandex suit standing in place of Knuckles, who was then digitally composed onto the shot. VFX was also used to patch together several separate shots to make the sequence look seamless. Storyboarding is an essential part of any production, but especially one that involves a lot of digital animation. Much can change between the storyboard and the final product, of course, but the process lays the groundwork for all the VFX to come. 2D artist Taniko Pantua shared his process for working on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on his YouTube channel. He is first assigned a section of the script and obtains reference photos. These images can include shots from other movies or work created by concept artists. He then draws thumbnail sketches for each shot in a given sequence. After these have been approved by the director, the storyboard artist develops these rough drawings into a more detailed animatic.
Is that all you got?
No, but thank you for asking.
Pre-visualization is a process that comprises storyboards, shot lists, and animatics to roughly depict how a given scene will look, providing the director and other departments a better vision of the intended final product. For a film like Sonic the Hedgehog, which features extensive use of CGI for its main character, Pre-vis is an integral part of pre-production. For visual effects artist Ellery Ortiz, these computer-generated storyboards are essential to laying the groundwork for a film's final animations. Ortiz's Pre-vis reel is available to watch on Vimeo, giving an idea of just how intricate these prepared sequences can be. Among the several scenes animated by Ortiz for Sonic the Hedgehog is one in which Sonic and Tom escape from Dr. Robotnik's drones, as well as a handful of moments in the film's climax. Watching these Pre-vis sequences, it's clear that a number of changes are made before the sequence makes it to the big screen. Nevertheless, these initial animations are of vital importance to the cast and crew. Ben Schwartz, for example, tells Den of Geek, "When I'm doing my performance, most of the time it's very Pre-vis. Some of them look like old-school Sega Saturn type graphics.